Once again, Caitlin Clark finds herself in the midst of yet another officiating debacle in a game that should have been about her outstanding skills and undeniable leadership. Instead of celebrating her abilities, Clark became the target of what many fans and analysts are calling an unfair series of fouls. The reaction from the basketball community has been swift and strong, with accusations flying that the calls were part of a larger, troubling trend to sideline one of the brightest stars in the game. This is not just bad refereeing anymore, it's becoming a running joke, and not the funny kind. However, amid all the chaos, there's one undeniable truth. Caitlin Clark is bringing unprecedented attention to women's basketball, and the sport is thriving because of her. More people are tuning in, more tickets are being sold, and the excitement surrounding the game is at an all-time high. Recently, for the first time in the sport's history, a women's basketball team chartered a plane for travel, a milestone that can be directly linked to Clark's influence. Make no mistake, Caitlin Clark is a game changer, and no amount of bad officiating can overshadow that. Caitlin Clark's rise to stardom has been nothing short of meteoric. She's no stranger to high-intensity matchups, and her performances on the court have been under intense scrutiny, not just from her opponents, but also from the referees. Her aggressive playing style, coupled with her undeniable talent, makes her a focal point of every game she plays. However, with great attention comes controversy, and Clark has found herself at the center of multiple officiating controversies, with questionable calls that have left fans and analysts shaking their heads. One of the most significant incidents occurred during a high-stakes game against the University of Maryland in the 2021 to 2022 season. Clark, who was leading her team in both scoring and assists, drove down the lane late in the third quarter, only to be hit with a charging foul. The contact was minimal at best, and many believed the defender had not established position. The call sent Clark to the bench, completely disrupting Iowa's momentum. Fans took to social media to express their frustration, with many questioning the fairness of the officiating. The call was pivotal, not only changing the flow of the game, but also putting Clark in foul trouble, forcing her to play cautiously for the remainder of the contest. Another infamous incident occurred in a close game against Michigan, where, with only seconds remaining on the clock, Clark was fouled while attempting a three-pointer, or so it appeared to everyone watching. Replays clearly showed the defender making contact with Clark's shooting hand. The referees swallowed their whistles, and no foul was called. The game went into overtime, and Iowa eventually lost. The non-call was widely criticized, with replays providing indisputable evidence that a foul should have been called. Clark, visibly frustrated, chose to take the high road in her post-game interview, avoiding any direct criticism of the referees despite the obvious controversy. Officiating isn't just about the physicality of the game, but also the mental aspect. Opposing teams know that if they can disrupt Clark's rhythm by getting her into foul trouble, they can change the course of the game. In a matchup against Indiana, Clark picked up 2 quick fouls early in the first quarter, a reaching call that seemed dubious at best, and a blocking foul that had Clark raising her hands in disbelief. With 2 fouls early in the game, she was forced to sit on the bench, and Iowa struggled without their leader on the court, eventually losing the game. These early fouls didn't just impact Clark, they derailed Iowa's performance, highlighting how crucial her presence is for the team's success. Clark's ability to draw fouls on her opponents is a critical part of her game, but it's a double-edged sword. In a heated contest against Ohio State, she was in the midst of a scoring spree when she was called for an offensive foul, her third of the game, after what appeared to be a routine move to create space for a jumper. The Ohio State defender, anticipating contact, sold the foul with a dramatic fall to the floor, and the referee's whistle blew. The call halted Clark's momentum and allowed Ohio State to claw their way back into the game. Analysts were divided, with some praising the defender's savvy play and others decrying the lack of consistency in officiating such plays. Physicality and aggression are part of the game, especially for a player like Clark who faces constant double and triple teams. Yet, there have been moments where the officiating in response to her play has seemed disproportionate. In a rivalry game against Nebraska, Clark was called for a flagrant foul while fighting through a screen. The Nebraska player went down hard, and after a lengthy review, the referees assessed Clark with a flagrant one. Replays showed that while there was contact, it was clearly incidental. The call resulted in 2 free throws and possession for Nebraska, a momentum shift that ultimately favored them. Clark, clearly upset, had to temper her intensity for the remainder of the game, knowing that further retaliation could lead to more severe consequences. This incident wasn't isolated. During the Big Ten tournament, in a matchup against Michigan State, Clark was shadowed closely by a defender who was holding and bumping her off the ball. After what seemed like an eternity of uncalled fouls, Clark finally pushed back, only to be called for an offensive foul. The sequence left fans and commentators bewildered, as it appeared the referees were ignoring the physical play against Clark until she retaliated. This inconsistency in officiating sparked a larger conversation about how star players are treated by referees. Are they unfairly targeted? Are they held to a different standard? Yet, despite these challenges, Caitlin Clark continues to be a beacon of hope and excitement for women's basketball. The numbers don't lie. In 2023 alone, women's basketball viewership grew by a staggering 180%, largely thanks to Clark's electrifying performances. What would have taken 5 or 6 years to achieve, Clark has done in a matter of weeks. Ticket sales are up by 93%, regular game viewership has increased by 20%, and the WNBA draft viewership has skyrocketed by 400%. Clark's influence on the sport is undeniable. In just 5 days, she's achieved milestones that would have previously taken years. Fans are flocking to see her play, and the Caitlin Clark effect is in full swing. Clark's rising stardom hasn't gone unnoticed in the business world either. In 2022, she signed a major endorsement deal with Nike, one of the first female athletes to benefit from the NCAA's new NIL, name, image, likeness, regulations. The deal allowed her to not only promote her name and brand, but also sell official Iowa Hawkeyes merchandise with her name on it, something that was previously forbidden under NCAA rules. The partnership with Nike has been a game-changer for Clark, allowing her to cement her status as one of the most marketable athletes in the sport. This partnership is about more than just selling jerseys and shoes. It's about Clark's legacy. She's following in the footsteps of iconic Nike athletes, inspiring a new generation of basketball players, particularly young women, to pursue their dreams on the court. Nike has recognized her potential, and recently, news broke that Clark has signed an 8-figure deal with the sports giant. The deal includes her very own signature shoe, a historic moment for women's basketball. This kind of opportunity is rare, but Clark's impact on the sport and her marketability